What you're looking at here is the tail end of a horrible encounter with the police in Totnes, Devon. I was assaulted by them and detained without reason. I didn't get a chance to record everything from the start. So you'll see a good bit of the recording once we had gotten into my home, which they unlawfully entered. But I'll start from the top. So I'm in this place that facades as an Airbnb is just a means for human trafficking. I had first stayed here last April, I believe. So that was in 2019. I had found it on Airbnb, and the woman, Chloe Nicholson, however, on Airbnb, only the first name is made available. She never even gave me her last name. This will be important later. So she gave me 2 weeks here at a steeply discounted rate. It's like 40 to 45 pounds a night, and she gave it to me for 100 pounds a week. And then she said it was getting filled up and I couldn't stay any longer. And then I contacted her maybe once when I was in like even worse situations with I contacted her once over the phone through text to see if she had openings, and she said no. And then many months later, in August, she contacted me and said she's been having a lot of requests for long-term stays. Would I like the space? So, she was full, and then she claims all of a sudden she's wide open. My 2 weeks here was probably the best living situation I'd had in years, even though I know the pattern of trafficking and I knew that she would be involved. I was in a worse situation. This one was better, so I chose to return here. And as you can see, it's right behind the police station. So that's the police station. This is the back end of the police station. This is the dwelling. This part over here is where the landlord, Chloe, lives with her partner, whose name I don't have. And then inside here is the tenants area, you could say. But again, this is just a means of human trafficking. The one who assaulted me just walked off towards the parking lot. And now you have two men in plain clothes here. Don't know if they're officers or not. I've been here in this building for several months, since August of 2019. In this time that I've been here, frequently it's just me, but they would send in different to be guests, just one other. They only rent out these 2 rooms. So every guest was easily identified as a narcissistic. They run the same program. So they would run the same scripted programs. One woman, the first woman, was Chloe's friend. I believe her name was Sarah. I don't know her last name. So, she did the reversal of my situation a little bit, or basically she tried to actually make herself seem so much like me. So she was from Totnes, and she said that she had gone to America and then was undocumented, and so she had a hard time coming back to the UK because she was undocumented. So she was trying to relate to the instability of my trafficking experience here through the asylum system in the UK. And then she tried to get in further with me, saying that there was a pedophile here who works with refugees, who she was abused by as a child, and she knows that he abused some of her friends as well, and she was determined to expose him. Now, so she only stayed for like 3 or 4 days, but in that time, and I believe she said that she was actually here for a wedding, but she wanted to multitask and expose him, and she was talking about putting up flyers with photos of his face next to Jimmy Seville and other famous pedophiles, saying something, the flyer would say something like, "Can you spot the difference?" or "What do these men have in common?" So she was saying that, she would expose him without making herself liable. And she asked me to help her put up the flyers even. And I agreed just because I wanted to know where it was going, but then she stood me up. She didn't do it. And it was so funny because the moment she first arrived, she sat in this foyer with the landlord, talking openly before she had even introduced herself to me. I was in my room at the time. I was in the kitchen a little bit. But she talked loudly and openly about her wanting to expose this pedophile. That's not something that you talk loudly about. And Chloe had told her, "Oh, just go to the police. They'll be able to help you." And then in private, Sarah came back to me and said, "I don't trust the police. Knowing what I've learned from America, I don't trust the police." So that's more of her trying to liken herself to me, trying to gain false trust from me. So that was just one example of so she tried to extract a lot of information about me by buddying up to me so well like that. And I just played with her a little bit. So I did talk to her, but I was playing her, and I don't know if she realized that. And she was also pro-abortion, just a detail to put in there. She actually performs abortions, and she was advocating for it, and had no qualms about it. She thought it was healthy and good. There have been probably 10 or so residents coming through temporarily. They started to have less come in when they realized whatever they were trying wasn't working. But to the right, if you go back towards where you see the tops of those trees, there's a pathway, and it leads to two schools. One is an art school, and one is King Edward. I don't know which King Edward it is, community college. Fun fact, it's the one that Ben Howard went to. But anyways, there are, expansive grounds all around the school. There's a pathway, and there's some fields, and there's some woods. And I'm not the only one who walks through there who doesn't go to school. There's a sign that says no dog walking. People walk their dogs through there all the time. And in the parking lot even, public buses pull up. One of their stops in the day is in that parking lot. And there's multiple paths that empty out into various streets. So it's easily accessible by the public. Lots of younger people go into the woods. There's a little picnic table inside the woods, and they drink and do drugs, and then they litter. And actually I go and I pick up the litter on a regular basis. There's also these fields behind my house, which they were completely grown over, impassable, and they just cleared it out a few weeks ago. And there's a bench back there, and well, here you can see it. This is what I'm talking about. So this is the view from my bedroom window. So this used to be all grown over a few weeks ago. They cleared it out. You can see, they had to do it in phases, but you can see some of that brown stuff is, what's been left. And I also see homeless types or druggy types coming back with bottles of alcohol. And usually the kids have alcohol and drugs too. Yep, here you go. Somebody loitering to spy. This goes with the theme of today, which you'll see shortly. I've always been visible, being exploited, and also makes it easy access for anyone to spy on me, especially at night when I can't see outside, but they can see in. So I have gone regularly just at the outskirts of the school property where the path leads to the woods, and like I said, I've cleaned up the litter there, and I just go because it's the closest patch of grass near me, as you can see, surrounded by concrete. So I just go for 15-20 minutes sometimes to sit on the ground and read a book or just meditate, and that's what I did today. And so this woman from the school comes out. She's shouting after me. So I'm actually just sitting there. I have a little towel because the ground was wet. And I'm facing away from her. And she's shouting at me, hello, hello, are you okay? Are you okay? Getting louder and louder, but she won't actually approach me. Until finally I looked at her, or I don't think I even bothered to look at her because I just wanted some peace. So I walked away. And she turned around to go back into the building that was nearby. So I walked into the woods, which takes just these narrow or shallow woods, just some trees that takes me out to the path, which comes from the building I'm staying in. And so I glanced over my shoulder, and the woman stops and she turns around and she stares at me. So I blew her a kiss and then I walked away. Also, so as soon as I got up, she said, sorry, I just wanted to make sure you're okay. So she acted like, I wasn't an intrusion. There was no issue. And this is part of the... I can't sit anywhere peacefully without somebody coming up to me to say, are you okay? And they do that because they want to disturb my peace. I'm talking about this happens all the time, nonstop. So that's part of the stalking. And so I walked away, and then there's another field just on the other side of that path. And I just sat on the very edge of it where there was some grass. And I had a blanket with me, and I lied down while I reclined, had my knees up. I was obviously just leisurely sitting there. And I was there for maybe like 15 or so minutes. And I had a book with me, I had a water bottle with me, and this man just walks right up to me and towers over me. So I'm lying down and he towers over me, basically to put his crotch in my face. And so he was school faculty, don't know his name. He was thin and wiry, glasses, maybe early 50s, and brown hair, a little kind of like foppishly longer hair. And he didn't even say anything. He just stood over me, looming over me with his crotch in my face. And I said, I'd like to be left in peace. And he said, what is your name? And I said, I'd like to be left in peace. Okay, so here we have the creeps from the back walking up. So this is part of the stalking. Go away.
Sorry, were you taking photos of us like that?
No, I wasn't, but you're intruding. Go away.
Huh?
You're intruding. Go away.
Were you taking videos of us?
Oh my God. We'll see if this does anything. They're just gonna bring the police in again. At least I have it all on camera. Nobody on this side. Yeah, so this is part of the stalking. And they want to make you believe that it's like of some organic incident, and it's not. This is designed. This is organized abuse. All right, well, that seems to work at least. They went away, although they might have gone to the police to make a false report about me. Of no privacy. By the way, having no curtains. The police being able to see right in. There's always police in those windows up there. And so especially at night, they can see right in. And look at Chloe's. Like, Chloe closes she has blinds or curtains, right? And she closes them on this side, but she leaves the ones on the other side, which is the public path to the school where people are constantly going. She leaves them open day and night. I also have a big window here in the kitchen with no curtains. Everyone can see me, and I don't have a right to privacy. And obviously, it's a safety issue as well when you don't have the option of privacy, such as when strangers are coming and harassing you at your door. You know, I actually had to hide into another room just now to get privacy. But it's not privacy because they can still see into my home. And just reflect on this curtain thing for a moment. So the only person coming through here is me. And she only closes these blinds, the ones where I would be passing by. She never closes the blinds to the public side where there is a lot of foot and car traffic. If that doesn't strike you as odd, then you're missing the subtleties of manipulation. So back to the story of what happened earlier today. So that man was standing over me. I said I'd like to be left alone in peace. He asked my name, and I repeated myself. And when he wouldn't budge, and he was super fucking creepy, I just got up peacefully without a word and walked away. And I walked towards the path to come out of the field. And he was following me. And now on the opposite side, it's like a playing field over there. And on the opposite side of it, there happens to be a woman walking through, and she's walking uphill, and it's slodgy, it's muddy. And so she was slip sliding in her little work shoes, but she just so happens to be walking up the opposite side so that she could cut me off on the path. And I thought maybe she was a passerby, naive me. Well, no, I mean, I just didn't get the full scope of this stalking attack at this point. So I thought she could be a witness. And so when the man started following me, I shouted, "Stop following me." And I kept walking, and I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. And then I glanced over my shoulder to see he was still following me, and I shouted it again. So I shouted it twice. And then the woman comes up the slope, slip sliding in her little work shoes. Do you see, this would have been planned. So she had to cross this huge, it would have been the size of like half a football field. I'm not good with measurements, but she had to have walked across that in preparation to cut me off. And so it was timed perfectly with this man's approach. So they both arrived at the same time. And then the woman just stares at me hostilely. So a concerned citizen, of course, would be concerned about why is this man following this young woman when she's walking away, shouting, "Stop following me." But of course, she was a cohort. And then further up on the path, not far away, there is a young woman or a girl, probably 17, 18. She was dressed a little bit hippie, and she was just standing there facing sideways on the path, gazing into the air, pretending to be completely oblivious to what was happening. You know, somebody is approaching, yelling, "Stop following me." And she doesn't move from her empty stare into space. So she says nothing. The blonde woman who had come up to cut me off on the path, she says nothing. And I walk on through. I knew better to show them where I live. It would have been like an invitation to harass me at my home, or to give further identifying information about me to people such as the corrupt police. So I kept on walking. The path goes to, there's a main street here, and then on the other side of that, there's another playing field, which is public property, for sure. And on the other side of that playing field is the path along the river. If you're from Totnes, you'll know what that is. And so it's right across from the water power plant. So I go and I lie on that field I go to the edge of the field next to the trees. There was only a man playing fetch with his dog for a little bit, and I went to the opposite side where he was. I just wanted some peace. I wanted to chill in some nature. I'm sick, and it's really healing. And nobody bothered me. Nobody was around. And I stayed there for probably 30 minutes. And as I'm walking back home, I get to the edge of the field, which is closer to the road. And I could see from the corner of my eye a police officer walking up from my rights. And he was several meters away. And I knew that he was walking towards me, but he was saying nothing. And so I pretended like I didn't see him. I wasn't going to give him any of my energy or attention. So he didn't say like, oh, hi, I'd like to talk to you. He waited until he walked right up to me. So he was several meters away. I was walking for a good 30 seconds. He said nothing. He waited till he got right up to me and in my face. He wasted no time. And you'll see this man on video shortly. So he wasted no time getting right in my face. He ordered me to stop. And I said, why? I said, I haven't done anything. And he said he'd like to talk to me. And I said, concerning what? And he said, I'd like to talk to you. And I repeated, concerning what? So this is the pattern that I have, that the police has with me. Every single confrontation, every single assault, they run the conversation in circles. And so you'll hear this pattern. It's on tape. But so they talk over you. They don't afford your rights. They don't afford you your rights. They won't let you speak. They won't answer your questions. And they just run the conversation in circles. And they're constantly gaslighting you. And so when he wouldn't answer, he wouldn't answer why he wanted to talk to me. And so I said, I'm busy. I'm going to go. And then he grabbed me. I mean, he stuck a hand out. He struck me like karate chop style in the arm. And he said, no, I'd like to talk to you. And I said, well, you can't tell me why, and I haven't done anything, so I'm going to go. And that's when he grabbed me hard, and he started dragging me. So I tried, I'm in fight or flight response this time. I'm wondering where's the best place to go if I can get myself anywhere. So we were right by the car park, by the parking lot of this playing field. And so I'm thinking, I wanted witnesses. So rather than going back to the playing field where there was no one there, I walked towards the street, and I was thinking, I'm going to walk into town. And so I'm just trying to normally walk, but his grip gets tighter and tighter. He grabs me with both hands. He's very angry, and he's shouting at me, no, I'm not going anywhere. And I told him I hadn't done anything. He has no rights to touch me. And he just continues to scream incoherently over me. His grip gets tighter. So now I had managed to walk like maybe 10 or so feet so that it was close to the sidewalk, or as they call it in England, the pavement. He didn't let go of his grip on me, but now that there were witnesses, I didn't want it to look like I had done something and he was detaining me. It's like a catch-22. I wanted witnesses to see that he was assaulting me, but if people don't know the situation, they could have thought that I was just some violent criminal. He, like every conversation with the police, he rambled nonsense about how he just rambled a bunch of nonsense. He wouldn't answer any of my questions, and he claimed that there was a description matching mine of someone behaving wildly on the school grounds, going in and out of the fields and the classrooms. And so he needs to talk to me. And I said, well, you've got the wrong person. And he just kept insisting, kept repeating himself. And I said, you have no proof it was me. You're saying some description matches me, but I'm telling you it's mistaken. I haven't done anything. If you don't have proof I've done anything, I'd like to go. Not to mention, I kept repeating he had no right to put his hands on me, and this is assault. And then his only response is, I'm not assaulting you. And then very quickly, more police come. Police cars drive up. Now there are 3 officers surrounding me. The man hasn't let go of me. He did loosen his grip only once the other officers came. And so with these 3 officers badgering me with questions, not letting me talk, not answering my questions of like, why are they detaining me? That went on for a solid couple minutes. And a passerby came through from the street going into the playing field. He was a black gentleman with longer hair, maybe dreadlocks. I don't think I've actually seen him around town. There's another man that somewhat fits that description in Totnes. To be honest, there's not a lot of black men or black men with long dreadlock hair. But so this was one who I hadn't seen before. I just looked at him, like I tried to catch his gaze, like sending out a plea. And because at this point I was really scared, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I have 3, because these are the perpetrators. These are the people who have held me captive in satanic ceremonies, who have raped me. They've tried to frame me before. They put in the position of authority. They can do whatever they want to you. And so I was quite scared at this point. And so I finally met this man's gaze, and I mouthed help, and he kind of like looked away. And so I said it still quietly, as just pleading with him, and I said help. And you could see like he had concern in his eyes, but he didn't know the situation. And I know that it could have possibly looked like, just a crazy person trying to talk to a stranger. And so the police said to the man, do you know this woman? And I said, no, but I was assaulted by the police and I want a witness. And there was also a woman like in her car, in the car park there, who was kind of listening. But of course, no one stopped to intervene. No one pulled out a camera to record or anything. And the man vanished. So the police are asking for my identity and asking for my name and proof of identity. And I said, I was just out for a walk. I don't have my ID on me. And if they can't tell me what this is about, I won't tell them my name. And that's when they said that they had reports of me being asked to leave the field several times, and I was behaving like I was mentally ill. So they called in, they were concerned. They made a safeguarding report. So the police are saying, this isn't a criminal matter. It's a safeguarding issue. They believe that I'm mentally ill. And so the officer who assaulted me claims to his fellow officers that he only grabbed me because I was running into traffic and he stopped me, which of course is a bold-faced lie, and I wasn't even near the street, and I wasn't running or anything. They insist on getting my name, and so I gave them a fake name, and they said that they were going to verify my ID. So they asked me for my place of birth, and I said America, and they said, yeah, big place, where in America? And I said, I don't know. And they asked for my date of birth. I gave them a fake date of birth. There are 3 officers, and they all join at different times. And at one point, I had told one officer the fake name, and then he relays it to the other officer, and he grins as he does. Why? Because they know who I am. He knows I gave a fake name. So he's smirking as he passes on the name that I've given. And that smirking officer was the one who assaulted me. So anytime I tried to ask for details about the report made against me, they refused to tell me, or they'd give different details. And whenever I pointed out their contradicting information, they'd get angry and they'd accuse me of being difficult or aggressive or not listening. And you'll hear that in the video recording I have of them. So I was able to start recording only after they forced their way into my home and I got my tablet. So they said that they were checking my identity. So they radioed it into someone and said they were checking or verifying my identity. But they asked me for my address. And also during this time, I said, I haven't done anything and I have a cold. I would like to go inside. And they said, inside where? And I said, inside my home. And that's when they were like, oh yeah, let's make her bring us into her home. And so when I gave them the name of the house, so if you're not from the UK, a lot of times houses, instead of a street number, they have a house name. And they knew exactly what it was. And they said, oh, behind the police. And so they insisted on coming into my home. They said that they would drive me over. It's literally across the street from where we were. And I said, no, I'll walk. And so the female officer actually tried to order me into her car. And I said, if I'm not being detained, I'm going to walk to my home. And she said, well, we'll walk with you. And so the man, he's using this whole facade of, I'm so unstable, I'm running into traffic, he's using that as an excuse to continue to get aggressive with me. So he grabbed my coat from the back while she grabbed my right arm. And I said, I can walk on my own. And so the woman said, well, my colleague said you're running into traffic. So, we have a concern for your safety and we can't let you walk without us. So, and now they're both, of course, aggressive. And she has this strong lock. She locked her arm into mine and she's pulling at me. I mean, so much for walking across the street. I was being dragged across the street. And then the guy behind me, the one who had initially assaulted me, has this rough grab on my back. And so I had stayed pretty calm this whole time. But at this point, I decided to just get really friendly with them. Oh, and also at one point, when it was just me and the first officer who assaulted me, one of the energetic protections that I do is the sign of the cross. And I didn't say anything when I did it. I was silent. It was when the man was badgering me, and I was silent, and I just did the cross and stood there. And he said, yeah, I'm a Christian too, as though like I had made some accusation against him. That's an unconscious or accidental expression of his guilt. And so when they're trying to drag me across the streets, like I just let my body go completely lax. And so I asked the woman what was her name, and I asked in like a super friendly tone, like we're at a party and we're getting to know each other. And she gives me her last name. I said, what's your first name? Again, like I'm getting to know somebody at a party. And she barks back, I'm not obliged to tell you, it's the law. And I said, oh, why? And she said, it's the law. And I said, no, I'm asking, why is it a law to not share your first name? And of course she couldn't tell me. And she just deflected, started badgering me with questions. Once again, this is the pattern you'll hear coming up. And so there's heavy traffic on this main road, and there's also pedestrians, and so it's a huge spectacle. I am wearing bright colored pants, multicolored pants. I'm sure lots of people, I'm sure it drew a lot of attention. I mean, there's at least 3 police cars nearby. I'm being dragged across the road by 2 officers and a third one in tow. And so it was, a huge spectacle. And so when they kept locked onto me, we had to walk through the police station car park into this fenced area of the building you saw just a little bit ago. And they did not let go of me. Now, they claimed that they had this death grip on me to prevent me from running into traffic. And yet, even after we get through, the police station car park, this narrow entrance, and there's 3 of them surrounding me, their excuse for continuing to assault me is to protect me from running out into the street. And eventually I pointed that out once we got to the door. I said, you claim you were protecting me from running out into the traffic, and yet here you are still holding me. And of course they had nothing to say to that. Gave a flimsy excuse of, oh, they just want me to be safe, right? And so they had used the reason of needing my ID as an excuse for coming to my home. And so this is just meant to be an invasion, a power play. I also have a lot of PTSD with police. One of the reasons why they have me, the whole trafficking network has me stationed behind the police, and why they love to use any opportunity to assault me like this. That it's a pretty strong trigger, and I'm not in my power whenever I'm around police. And so I said, you can wait here, you're not welcome in my home. Also, by the way, before we had crossed the street, when they found out where I lived, they said, give them my landlord's number so that they can verify it. And I said, you're welcome to watch me walk in. That'll verify it. And they said, no, they want to talk to my landlord to verify I am who I am. So they always change the reasons for whatever it is, whatever their demands are. The third officer, who was the most silent in all of this, and you'll see him, he's the older one. He just said, "Oh, I'll call Chloe." And I pointed out, "Oh, you know her." Like, oh, this is of course just a coincidence. Not only do you know her, but you have her number stored in your phone. And I asked, "How do you know her?" And he wouldn't answer. And then the other police would jump in to answer for him because he was incapable of doing this himself. I would say he was probably the most insecure of the three of them, which is why he was more silent and hands off in this whole assault. And it's always a red flag when somebody else swoops in to answer a question you've asked a person. And so I forget, one of the officers, it might have been both of them, they're all talking at me at once, said, "Well, probably, just from passing by because she lives next to us." And so it wasn't even a definitive thing. It was, "Oh, probably." And I said, "Yeah, but he has her phone number in his phone." And then they changed it to, "Oh, it's just good practice. It's community connections." So which is it? I mean, this man can't answer for himself why he has the number in his phone. Then you pretend like you don't really know why, but it's totally explainable. And then you say, "Oh, it was deliberately done as good community connections," and that's part of making the place safe. So, all right, coming back to where we are at the front door, I said, "You're not welcome inside." And they forced their way in, and they said that they're coming in. I tried to repeat myself that they're welcome to wait outside the door. And like you saw, there's no curtains. It's not like I can hide. But they completely ignored me and treated it as their rights to be in my home. And so I go into my room and my bedroom and I lock the door. And the woman, as soon as I close the door, she tries to open it as I'm locking it. I managed to get it locked. And she said that she's not going to come in my room, but I need to leave the door open. And through the door, I said, "I don't feel safe with her, and I'm going to keep the door shut." I said, "I'm looking for my ID." And of course, the first thing I'm doing is booting up my laptop. It was off, and so I had to wait a minute. And within 30 seconds, the bald man who initially assaulted me walks around the property to the back end where my bedroom window is. The curtains are wide open, and he's banging on the window, face to the glass, hand to the glass, looking in. And I just gave him a wave and then closed the curtains. He stopped banging at least and came back around. And so they're pestering me, saying that, I was in my bedroom for about a minute. And they're pestering me, saying it shouldn't be taking this long. What am I doing? Oh, right. She claimed that I needed to have the door open to make sure that I'm not harming myself. And I said, "Well, I'm talking to you and I'm calm, so you know that I'm not harming myself. I'm just looking for my ID, and it's taken a little bit." And she claims that it shouldn't be taking that long. So it's just like this wild narcissistic abuse. And so I come out and they can see that I'm recording, and that's when they say, "Oh yeah, you're allowed to record." And I come out with my money pouch where my asylum registration card. That's the ID that asylum seekers are given the home office, that is the UK government. They confiscate your passport when you apply for asylum. And the woman is saying, "I want your passport," like as I'm digging through my money pouch. And I said, I'm looking for my ID." And she just keeps repeating, "I want your passport." So you'll see, that's the point I started recording. So you'll see what happens from there. And of course, the worst of it is off camera. Oh, also, as we were walking across the street, I said, "How do I get a copy of the video that's being made of me?" And it was only the woman who had a body cam on. So the man assaulting me, he didn't. How convenient, only one of them did. And so the worst was not recorded. And I do believe she had turned it off at one point. I don't know when. And so when I asked her how I can get a copy of it, she just rambled a bunch of nonsense to me, and I said, I'll need you to write that down. She said, oh, I will. When we get over there, I'll write it down. All right, now I also want to explain a couple other things that you're about to see. So you'll hear them talking about my immigration status, and you'll hear me tell them it's false. But this was definitely like a big trigger point for me because the Home Office had ceased contact with me about a year and 4 months ago when I was in G4S's asylum accommodation. But that was when the Home Office cut contact with me because I kept reporting abuse from the accommodation and from the on-site doctors who work through the government's NHS. So that's when the Home Office just stopped talking to me, yet at the same time, G4S just ships me off from Derby, was the temporary accommodation, to Nottingham. Because the Home Office cut contact with me, I had no idea what they were treating my case as. I mean, truly, they can make it up as they go. They can change it at a whim. So as far as I knew, this was the day I was going to be detained and or deported. There is no legitimacy to my asylum case because not only did I report abuse and receive no correspondence, and I left that G4S accommodation in Nottingham when the police networked with all of these so-called charities for refugee victims, or excuse me, refugees, and with G4S, they all networked to try to frame me for a hate crime against a Muslim, one of the women in the accommodation. So this came about when she assaulted me and I got it on camera. And so because I had that proof, and I also made complaints to G4S, and so because I wasn't being submissive, they tried to go hard on me and frame me for a hate crime. Now, in the UK, with the political culture here, a hate crime against a Muslim is a very serious accusation. So I up and left from there with no notice, and it was more who had targeted me in this scenario, so that I was moved in the trafficking, changing hands of, and that was Tom and Emma Bird. I have a video of them admittedly doing a satanic ritual against me.
Up the stairs. A spell at you.
You were shouting a spell at me.
Well, I didn't know you were there. Omnia maledictare di.
What you doing? Pulling up the stairs.
A spell at you.
You were shouting a spell at me. Okay, so what's the spell?
Well, I didn't know you were there.
So you were telling me about the spell you were putting on me?
No,
Okay, great. So it's
talking rubbish.
10:30.
You're mad. You're actually insane.
And so they trafficked me out of the G4S accommodation into their home in Drybrook, this remote village, teeny tiny village in the county of Gloucestershire. And so I gave G4S no notice of anything of when I was leaving. And so this would have been an infraction against my asylum case. So I've had no contacts with the Home Office either way for over a year. And so, of course, I went from one of the Birds to another, and that was Barry Cohen in South Brent. And I've continued to be passed on from. So you'll see them challenging my immigration status because they know that's a big trigger for me. And you'll notice that once I tell them I'm a victim of trafficking, they make no inquiries into my safety. So they made this huge deal about being concerned for my safety because they had some vague reports that, with the details of, they kept changing about my behavior, displaying signs of mental illness. But as soon as I bring up serious crimes, they don't fucking care. And trafficking, you saw where the police, they park some of their cars like right in front of my doorway or the gateway. And only on one occasion did a police car ever show up which said, "Modern slavery, it's closer than you think." So this is supposed to be like a tagline of public awareness, supposedly, right? I've never seen that police car anywhere in Totnes in the car park for months, but it showed up one day. So, just the irony of they have this car, but then as soon as they meet a victim of slavery, they make no inquiries into her safety. You'll hear in the video that I tell them, my landlord never gave me her last name. Do you think that's a safety issue? And they totally avoided answering the question until they eventually said, nope, not a safety issue. She tried to turn it around on like it was some flaw in me or like some shortcoming in me, like I was stupid to not have asked. But it's not a safety issue. And I found out my landlord's name through social media. She literally never told me her last name, never asked me for my last name. Think about this. So she sends me a text message to invite me, never even a phone conversation. She sends me a text message back in August inviting me to come back here as a long-term tenant. She doesn't ask for my ID. She doesn't ask for my last name. There is no contract done up. She asked for payments in cash and she wanted weekly payments. So even though she accepted me, invited me as a long-term tenant, she wanted the payments in weekly installments. And I had to ask her for a receipt. So the first time I paid her, it was just that. No paper trail at all. And, like I said, we have no contract, nothing written up, no simple agreement written up. And she knows that with my phone, which is a button style phone, that I don't have the whole conversation in one place, the text messages. So she knew that I wouldn't have been able to record her luring me into this place. And she wasn't even going to give me receipts. I had to ask for it. And these are the receipts she gives me. So yeah. So when the police officer, who happens to have my landlord's number in his phone, when I asked him what's her last name, she never told me. He said, well, actually somebody else jumped in, because remember, it was the older one. You'll see it's the older one who can't really fend for himself. He's not good at this. He was the more passive one. So one of the others jumped in to answer for him, saying that it wasn't his right to give me the name if she didn't give me her name. Oh man, they just try to run delusion after delusion on you. And so what you're about to hear is a massive mind fuck of narcissistic abuse and control, a mind fuck of narcissistic conversation, circular conversation, intended also to disorient me, gaslighting, denial of my rights, intruding on my rights. And in the end, they left and they claimed that I'm allowed to be here. And that's interesting because on the technicality parts, I wouldn't, like, nothing is legitimate about me being here. And that's due to their trafficking, though, and me trying to escape their trafficking. And so because of everything that had happened, my immigration status here has been like the biggest cause of anxiety for me, because I'm actually undocumented because of what the Home Office has done to me. But they claimed that I'm allowed to be here. And lastly, these are their names and badge numbers, and I don't remember who was who. All right, it's 1:07 p.m. on January 17th, 2020. The police have assaulted and harassed me. They're in my home against my will for nothing. So your concern is that I'm in here hurting myself?
I said, I don't know. I said, I can't see from the door. I just need to verify your
Well, I haven't done anything to make you believe that I'm hurting myself.
Anna, where's your ID, please? I need to
And you're not welcome in here. I haven't done anything. Right. You need to leave.
I'm in the communal area.
This man assaulted me.
Can I have your ID?
This man assaulted me.
Right. Once I verify your ID, I will leave you in peace. I need to see your passport, please.
Bye.
And I have permission.
You're harassing a victim of human trafficking.
Right, well, you need to tell me about that then. I don't
know.
No,
I don't. It's none of your damn business. I haven't done anything.
Right, if you're saying you're a victim of human trafficking, that makes it my business. That's a crime. That's
actually, because it has nothing to do with
Where's your passport is what I'm interested in.
I'm looking for my ID. Thank you.
But that's not your passport, is it?
Because I'm an asylum seeker.
He's not going in your room? He's not allowed to go in your room?
Really? Because you tried to... Why is that? You're allowed in my home against my will?
Now. I can see you. I don't have a concern.
He's not allowed in my room, but he's allowed in my foyer.
Can I have your ID?
I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it.
And it's very welcome. You're very welcome to record it because everything's been recorded already, Anna.
Well, nothing was recorded when this man assaulted me in the field, in the playing field, when I was walking through. Because I asked him what he wanted to talk to me about. He wouldn't tell me, and so he aggressively grabbed my arm.
I'll be honest with you. You don't actually give people half the time to explain, so that might
You've been talking over me the whole time. He had no right to touch me.
Your ID, please.
And see, you're the one talking over me. That's what I'm talking about. Well, I just want to explain that because of the assault, the harassment, and the abuse, that I didn't feel safe giving you my real name. So here's my ID.
Right, thank you. Let's start again.
Here's my ID.
Okay, we'll start again.
I'm an asylum seeker.
Have you made an application?
That's what the card is.
No. I haven't got all the answers, that's why I'm asking you.
It's right there.
Afford us the courtesy to give us the information when we ask it.
Afford criminal police the courtesy. Rachel, you assaulted me.
Rachel, as somebody who's claiming asylum, there is no need to keep that from us. We are the police.
He assaulted me.
Right.
I haven't assaulted you. I've asked for ID. I've asked for your details, and you've chosen to lie to me. So we take
because this man who assaulted me is still here.
Do you want to just stand outside, Jason?
Yeah,
and you also forced yourself on me to cross the road, claiming, "Can you please remove your hand from your mouth because it just makes me uncomfortable." Thank you. I thought she asked you to stand outside.
I'm keeping support of my colleagues at this time.
She asked you to stand outside. Wouldn't that be the support?
I'm now.
You're inside.
Rachel, what's your date of birth, please?
It's on there.
We've got a valid until and I'll place in date of issue. Show me where your date of birth, please, is. I can't see it on there. Okay, thank you.
And now that there's 3 of you here, will somebody write down, this is the 4th time I've asked, somebody write down the incident number, your names, and caller numbers. There's 3 of you here. Can't somebody do it right now? Sorry, what did you want to say?
Pardon?
What were you saying? You heard me. Hand over the mouth again. It's a PTSD trigger, and I just asked you to put your hands down. Thank you. Why is that something to make a face over?
Poser.
You were antagonistic.
Okay? We don't need your permission, we just need the permission of the person who's on the tenancy agreement. Okay?
That's not true. And you've been entirely antagonistic this whole time.
That is you. We've seen the documents. He's on the tenancy agreement. Are you going to be leaving tonight? Because you need to
It's
start
not
packing up your
possible.
stuff.
It's
It is
not
possible.
possible. I haven't breached the peace at all.
No, you need to prevent the breach of the peace. But you
There
are breaching the peace,
there
really.
is no. I'm not. There is no
You're-
threat.
You're sort of arguing, aren't you?
Arguing with you? Well, why don't you leave and the argument won't be over? I've
Okay.
never argued with Akil. Anytime he has been antagonistic, I walk away. You
Rachel,
you know
how-
that training, right? Because you're completely ignoring it.
How can we help you with it? How can we help you? What's happened?
Well, it would first help. The window's open. And he's just standing out there listening, and now you've put me in a vulnerable position.
Have we?
Okay.
In your opinion?
What do you want to tell us?
What do you mean, in my opinion? He now is listening to the fucking conversation.
Okay, that's not.
I need time to ensure I have a safe accommodation to go to because I am in a vulnerable position.
Okay. Have you reported things to police before?
I have, and guess what? Every time the report disappears. As I told you, my traffickers exist within the police as well.
Okay. Alright.
My traffickers exist within the police as well. I was also inducted, I was in the NRM. I lived in safe houses for 2 years.
Okay.
I'm also an
So
asylum.
what's the NRM?
What?
Explain what the NRM is to me.
You don't know what the National Referral
No.
Mechanism is
Okay.
because you're a first responder. You don't know what it is.
Alright, I heard hear all sorts of acronyms, okay? I didn't know what that one was. Alright?
So can you tell me what the NRM is now?
Referral mechanism. So, what refer to other social services, things like that? Is
So
my
you
guess?
still don't know what National Referral Mechanism is.
I don't know.
You're a first responder.
Listen, as a first responder, I need to deal with lots of things.
You're a first
okay?
responder in the NRM, buddy. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
It's not one we use normally.
Okay, Rachel.
You don't know
now
what
diverting from the issue.
No, the
You
National
are.
Referral
You
Mechanism
are.
because you are face to face with the victim of human
We're not talking
trafficking
about
and
us.
you don't know what you're legally obligated to
We
do.
don't know your story. We don't know anything.
You
about
don't
your
even know
business.
how
You're
you
not
don't know
telling
how
us
to
anything.
respond.
How do I
You're
know?
not
All we know
telling
is
us
you know
anything.
your name is Rachel.
You're ignoring everything. Oh.
Do you
So-
want to tell us more about it or not?
you're not really receptive, and the fact that you don't know what you're legally obligated to do with my information doesn't inspire confidence.
Okay. Should I tell you why we're sceptical? Okay, it's because we come up here, we're trying to talk to you, we're trying to be polite. Okay.
Sorry, what did you want to say?
Pardon?
What were you saying? You heard me.
Victor Fuzzer.
Hand over the mouth again. It's a PTSD trigger, and I just asked you to put your hands down. Thank you. Why is that something to make a face over?
Fuzzer. Yeah, the details that were passed earlier are incorrect. Can I give you details from the lady's card that she has as an application for asylum? Yeah, surname so far. Yeah, Rachel. Take that one back from me.
It's still going through.
Right, okay. Have they given you any suggestion as to how long before?
No, if you know anything about the Home Office, they're really
they're
terrible
slow,
with
they're slow, yeah.
with communication. They've ignored all of my attempts at contact.
Okay. No,
Even
no.
when I was in asylum accommodation
Yeah.
because I was destitute and I was being abused there, and the Home Office willingly ignored my reports of
Where
the
was that,
abuse.
locally or?
No, it was somewhere else.
Okay.
Just in a phone Manchester.
Okay. How long have you actually been sort of within Devon? Is that since August?
Since January of last year.
It's about a year.
Yeah,
Okay. Let me just try and
year
explain.
to the day. It's almost like a
Yeah,
anniversary.
Can I just try and explain why we're at the situation that we're at. And it may be very different back in the USA, but I just want to tell you...
That man put his hands on me and he had no rights to.
I've asked you if I can explain to you what our concerns are, but again, you've not let me. May I please explain the reason why we've been called and the actions why we've taken? I can only talk from when I've arrived. I can't talk on behalf of my colleague. So can I explain, please? Is that a yes or no?
Well, if I say no, will you go away? I mean, I gave pause so that you could speak. But if I have the option of saying no, then you're welcome to leave.
You wanted to know why I took hands on you going across the road. You wanted to know why...
No, you already explained, and you were pretending like you said that it was because that man said I was running out into the traffic, and I wasn't. I was simply walking away from him. That's why he assaulted me.
I said to you, irrespective of that with my colleague, I said the report that we'd had from the member of the school was that your behaviour was deemed strange. They thought you were in a heightened state and they were concerned for your mental health, okay? As I have said to you, I don't know you, Rachel. I've not met you before, okay? I do not know your background. I don't know whether you suffer from a mental health condition, PTSD, depression or whatever, okay? I knew very little about you and the details you gave me happened to be false. You wouldn't get in my car, which is fine. You wanted to walk here. But I know nothing about you and I don't know that the minute you don't step off that curb, that you might try to harm yourself. And that's the reason why I've taken hold of you, to escort you back. And that I can explain to you, all right? I'm not here for a criminal offence. I'm here because people are concerned for your welfare. All right? And that is why we've been called.
I haven't done anything. You have no proof that I was displaying actions of mental illness.
From what they have said to us, and the description given...
There was a man who was harassing me. You should look into that. When I was walking away, he kept following me. I wasn't on the property. He kept following me. And I simply said, go away, stop following me. So it seems that he made a false report.
It's not a false report. He's made a call with good intentions.
Okay, so he made a call falsely. I didn't do anything. How do you know that? How do you know that? You have no proof. Why is his word taken over mine?
Okay. I'm not taking side. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm saying he's made a call with good intent. It might not be that what he's reporting.
It wasn't good intent. It was abuse because I hadn't done anything.
Right.
But simply because I told him to go away, he became hostile and made a report with false claims against me. That's not that's not a call of good intent. And why do you talk over me?
Because I'm trying to explain to
you. There is no reason to talk over me.
He is from the school and you were within school grounds. Okay.
And when I was leaving, he kept following me.
Because he was concerned about how you were behaving.
Like I said, I wasn't doing anything. Right. This man made a false report. He lied. And why can you say that he hasn't lied?
Which one? I've got the...
So now that nothing has happened, and you can see that I haven't displayed any actions or any behavior of mental illness. And like I said, I have a cold. You've got my door open.
The ID she's provided, what is it?
It's the registration card for asylum. It's got a reference number on it.
Yes, a registration card for asylum issued by the Home Office.
So now that, as I was saying, you've seen for yourself, I walked cooperatively with you. I haven't displayed anything of mental illness.
And from that side of things, I will leave you here to get on your afternoon. The only thing I'm now just doing is verifying with the Home Office about the cards because I can't run you against another UK system to verify what ID you show me. So we're just looking for verification on that and then I'll happily leave you to your afternoon.
Why do you need to verify? I don't understand why you can't verify my ID from the ID.
I'll be honest with you, it's the first time I've ever seen one of those cards.
You've never seen...
No. Never seen one before.
Okay, so this is the ID that the Home Office issues everybody for who has applied for asylum.
And no disrespect to yourself. It might be that your case is ongoing. It might be that your process has been or your application has been denied. And I don't know whether you're sort of unlawfully here and you need to be recalled. So I'll be honest, I'm checking.
So this is a criminal issue that you've taken upon yourself.
No, I'm not taking it upon myself. I'm just making sure that you are here legally. And you are here without any concern. And that's the two things that I'm doing. And that is being done by my colleague who's on the phone to the office now. All right?
Just trying to establish
if you've got a calling card, please, just so I can put our details in. That's all right.
Got my details.
So can you do this outside because it's cold and you have my door open and I have a cold, like I said?
That's fine.
Can you do this outside was my
No,
question.
'cause
Why not?
Because I'm not going anywhere until I've confirmed your ID.
You don't have to go anywhere. You're welcome to stand right outside the door.
I don't want to stand outside in the cold either, Rachel. I'll be honest with you.
Well, nobody forced you here. And this is my home and you're not
You've
welcome.
been given
To be
permission
honest
by
with
landlady.
you. She
Okay,
doesn't...
Thank you.
My landlady never even asked my last name. But you have her phone number.
This is a communal part of the building. She's happy for us to be in this communal part of the building.
Yeah, I've spoken to Chloe. I mean, yeah, she's happy with that.
When did you speak to her?
Just as we walked in,
Really? Because you said you couldn't get a hold of her and she's also at
she
work.
rang me back.
What's
Oh.
Jason's phone?
30077.
It's funny that you had her number in your phone.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not funny. It's just community relations.
It makes it easier if we give our phone numbers out to people, so if they need to get hold of us.
But
and
you
vice
had
versa.
her phone number. Right, okay. What do you think about her never even asking my last name?
To be honest, my knowledge of Airbnbs and their conditions and whatever, I don't know anything. Nothing at all about it.
I'm asking, do you think, what is your opinion of her not even asking my last name to rent
So no-
out long
No
term?
opinion. I don't
So
know.
I've been here since August and she sought me out to rent from her long term, but she never even asked my last name
Yeah.
or even gave me her last name.
Okay. So to be honest, I've not gotten an opinion. I don't know.
Do you
if
know,
it's
what is her last name? Can you tell me?
You'd have to ask her for that. She
Yeah.
never chose to give to you.
Are you serious? You don't think I should know my landlord's last name? You don't think that's a safety issue?
Right. Okay.
No?
You wanted.
So you won't
wanted-
ask? Or you won't answer?
I can't give her your name. There's no requirement for me to give you her name.
You don't think... My question was, do you think it's a safety issue that my landlord didn't ask my last name and never gave me her last name? And she sought me out
It would have
for
been a
long-term
question
renting.
I may have asked before I agreed to take tenancy, but that's
Do you think it's a
just my-
safety issue
No.
was my question?
No, I don't. If
It's
you-
not.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Right. We know who owns this building. If there's ever an issue, it's not a problem. is
That's
it?
not my question.
Okay. So you wanted to know the reference number. That's the reference number in relation to the call that we had. So it's logged with today's date, which is the 17th of the 1st, 2020. I am PC376 Baker, and this is my colleague PCSO Broadhurst, and my other colleague is PCSO Basie. Okay, so that has all our details on
And you said you were going to write down how I can write to request
if
the...
you go onto the website, on the back it tells you how you can contact us, and if you want information, it will do it step by step with you.
So I can find how to request the recording made of me today.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You can make a request. It will be up to the disclosure office as to whether they feel they need to provide you with that.
So I don't have a right to
No, you can
the
ask
information
her.
about
I don't
me.
get, I'm a police officer. I don't get to decide.
Well,
who
a right
gets
would
to
be
do
something that's automatic, something that's inherently given.
You
So
can
I
make
don't have a
you can
right.
make a request, and they will decide whether they need to fulfil that request or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we all set here?
Just waiting for my colleague to get off the telephone and update us with your sort of current status with the Home Office, and then as long as we're happy, we'll leave you to it.
And so can you tell me what was the behavior that I was supposedly exhibiting that made the call?
So the report that I had was that you were on school premises. You've been there several times today. And, been
And
on
where
school-
on the
on
premises
fields,
was I?
On the fields. Was
Which
I was
fields?
Right. I was 10 miles away in my car. I got just told you were in the fields at the school. Okay, on the playing fields at the school. That's all I know. I don't know exactly what field because I've not spoken to him.
Because the other man said that I was in the classrooms.
Right, you asked me what I knew. This is what I know.
Well, why is there a discrepancy among the
I
officers
don't know
here?
if he's spoken to somebody from the school. I only know what I've been told by our control room.
Okay.
Was that you've been approached several times by staff.
How
at
many
the school.
times?
Several. I don't know how many. That was what I was told. You're asking me what I'm being told, and then you're challenging me.
I'm just asking for
Right.
details.
Several. That was what I was told. Several times. Not numbers. They told me several times. They've approached you and
That's
asked
just
you
vague.
to leave. Okay? They believe that you're in a heightened state, and then you've gone.
And why did they believe I was in a heightened
I'm about
state?
to explain.
Okay.
Because you've then gone off into the field. You've laid on the field with your legs in the air, waving your legs around.
So I went from one field to another,
Right.
and
You're kind of trying to look for splitting hairs. I'm telling you what I know. That is what they
this
said.
story
And
isn't making
right,
sense.
Okay, it doesn't make sense. You're right. It's very strange, and that's
The
why
narrative
we are
of the
concerned.
of the events, how it goes from one to the
Rachel,
other, doesn't make
Rachel,
sense.
I'm not gonna,
Why
I'm
are you
not-
talking over
No,
me?
because you're not listening to.
You
what
have no
I'm
right to
saying.
talk over
Right,
me.
and neither do you have a right to talk over me. Okay, a conversation is when people listen. You are not listening to what I'm saying, and I'm waiting. And what I'm going to say to you is, I'm not going to go over the narrative because
man.
you're not listening to me.
Sure I am. You can't answer my questions, and then you talk over me, and then you were claiming that I'm doing the same to you simply because you started talking over me. So the accusation was I went from one field to another, and I lied on the ground and I waved my legs in the air.
Rachel,
Is that correct?
I'm not going to go over this with you. If you want to know what it said, you can make that request to the police.
You're not going to tell me what the
because you-
accusations against me are?
Because you keep talking over me. No, I'm not going
Okay.
to. I've explained
Look,
more than once.
I won't say anything. Just explain it all
No.
from top to bottom because you haven't explained the end. So
I explained over by the school, and I've tried to explain again now. I'm not going to go over this again. Like I say, we're just waiting to hear on the current status of what your asylum is with the Home Office, and then we will leave you to it.
you explained over by the school? We weren't by the school.
By the entrance to the school fields, when I arrived, where I parked my car is the entrance to the school property, to the fields.
You just said that you explained twice, once at the school and then now. And so, like I said, I had a book and I showed you the towel I had and the water bottle and the book I had whenever you got to me. And I explained that I was on the outskirts. It's right by my house. I didn't realize that it was school property. I was just sitting in the sunshine, reading a book, and a man approached me, and he started asking me my name, and I said I'd like to be left in peace. And then I got up and I walked away, and I got onto the pathway off the school property. He kept following me. I said, stop following me. And that's why he's made this report.
Okay,
He was
so that's
some-
something to be taken up with him. I can
No,
only
it's
go-
not.
I
It's
can
a
only go
police
based
matter.
on what
And now
being
I'm
told.
telling you,
Okay.
and now I'm telling you what actually happened.
And we have a version from him, we have a version from you, and I've not witnessed either of them. So I.
But
can't
you're
say
taking
one
his word over
No,
mine.
I'm not taking one word or the other. Ultimately, the issue as to why I'm here was about your welfare, not about criminal offences.
And there was
about your
nothing
welfare.
about my welfare that you've
Okay,
witnessed.
so we're still getting details. So initially,
Man, if you can get information from the Home Office, that'll be a miracle because it's been a long
initially
time
you
since
claimed
they've,
under asylum under sex
as I was
trafficking,
saying,
and then
well,
that was
you can't-
refused, and you were.
it
told
was
you
not
what-
refused.
Okay, so I'm only telling you what they've told us.
Are you talking about the national referral mechanism? That's different from the asylum.
Okay, whatever you want to call it. What I'm
No, I
telling
need
you,
to know what the status of.
You're really not listening, are you? So you asked for asylum under sex trafficking. That was refused.
That's incorrect.
And then on the day you were due to leave the UK, you asked for asylum for something else.
That's
which
incorrect.
We haven't found out at the moment.
That is
That's
incorrect.
What we've been told.
Well,
Okay?
that's
So at
incorrect,
the
and I have all
moment-
the
at the
paperwork to
moment-
prove
Listen,
that's
you're not-
incorrect.
You're not listening
Why
again.
aren't you listening to me?
Because you've asked me a question and you're not letting me answer. So do you want me to answer your question?
I didn't.
Yes
What
or
question
no?
did I ask you? I didn't ask you a question. I was
So
telling
at
you
the
it was
moment-
incorrect.
At the moment, you are here legally while your second request is being processed.
I only filed for asylum
Okay.
once.
Okay,
I have the
well,
paperwork to prove
They're
it.
saying twice.
I have the paperwork to prove it.
I don't doubt you. I'm not calling you a liar. Like I said, this is not the police dealing with this. As you correctly pointed out, this is the Home Office.
And you're
Okay.
getting inaccurate information from the Home Office.
Possibly.
Okay, and
I'm
I'm
just
glad that it
relaying
doesn't
to
matter.
you- I'm just relaying to you what they've told us. So you are here legally. You are entitled to be here.
I
That's
know
what I'm
that.
trying to say. Oh, okay. So we got there eventually.
Great. So everybody can leave. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to square that away with my colleague.
You can go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Yes, you can leave now. A little faster. Wow. I mean, blood is boiling, adrenaline pumping. I won't make much sense if I try to talk right now. They're still out there. Oh, and they claimed they didn't want to stand outside. So how much narcissistic manipulation and I can't tell if that's, yeah, I think that's the officer, the bald one on the right. He's in plain clothes now. I think it's the same guy who assaulted me. God, that was fucked up.